Okay, meeting called to order at 7:05. We'll begin with the payroll warrant. The payroll warrant number P-5, fiscal year 2012, in the amount of $25,038.45.
Does this include the new internet service that we're doing with the one of the firefighters here? You know?
Yes, it would include any billable hours out of support of the district.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Any questions? I can try to point that out to you. Total hours for Mr. Sasha was 10 hours last month. However, that includes EMS calls and any other regular calls. I believe he's reported later on in his IT report a total of 5 hours last month.
Okay, so we signed that agreement that the lawyer made?
We are waiting to get that agreement from the lawyer, and until then, he has not signed it because we have not provided a copy from the attorney.
I'm not going to approve of it yet, then. To pay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2 for, 1 against. Now, under the payroll warrant, I wanted to bring up an issue concerning the pay or the added responsibility to Mr. Judson. We've added a lot of responsibility to him, but we haven't compensated him for any of it. He's been doing the work. It's a complicated situation. In the past, we began him acting deputy. We gave him the salary which was originally in the warrant for last year of $12,000. When he began this process, he was allowed to collect fireman's pay, his captain's pay, in addition to his salary for being his duties and salaries as deputy. Later in the year, that was rescinded, and he was only allowed, that was considered to be double dipping is what they considered it to be. However, at this time, we've given him a lot more responsibility. We haven't made any changes.
What is your recommendation?
I personally, I don't feel that it would be double dipping if he's getting his detail pay. He's getting for his detail work, which he always has been. But if we're giving him the added responsibility of being the chief, we need to give him some added compensation. And I believe that at the captain's pay rate, that would be a good agreement. But I need some input from my board, and we need to also set some type of limit so it doesn't go through the roof and we don't blow the budget. But I don't think it's fair to add added responsibility without any extra compensation to Mr. Judson. And again, this would be on a temporary basis.
Okay, I agree. I'll second that motion.
So we would need to come up with a motion, have it read into the minutes, and that's how it would be. Any input on this?
One person definitely think he should be compensated for it, but I think that has to be done on a warrant, because that's changing the pay.
We wouldn't be changing the pay. These are for additional duties, so this would come out of support of the district. Could you see if the treasurer is available using the other office?
There's a meeting there, isn't it?
Yes, if he could excuse himself for a moment or two.
I think he should be compensated for sure for it. He's doing a lot of extra work. I just want to make sure we're doing it right, because
Absolutely.
in case anybody complains.
We have his, the last 2 months have been pretty consistent. Building maintenance, he's taking care of the outside. That goes away for the winter months for the most part. But he only puts in 8 hours a month. Then as far as his duty, he's got 108 hours of duty time in the month of October.
You see, that's making a whole new pay grade, so I don't know how that works. Because
Well,
like the voters voted on like a chief's pay, a deputy's chief's pay. You know what I'm saying? How do you just go ahead and change that?
I do. Yeah, at our last meeting, we allowed some hours to go to Marcel Dumont for the same situation. And according to Mr. Foster, that was appropriate. It was okay to come out of support for the
All
district.
means, if we can do it, then let's do it.
So, sorry to interrupt. We had a quick question for you.
Yep.
We had discussed under payroll, Mr. Judson has taken on a lot of extra responsibility in the last couple of months. He is receiving his pay for the deputy according to the warrant. However, about a year ago, we said that the deputy, acting as the deputy, could not also receive his captain's pay when he goes to fires. It's double debit, correct. But now with the added responsibility of the chief, doing a lot of the duties that were assigned to the chief, how can we, within the confines of our warrant and not overstepping our boundaries, how can we compensate him for that without violating any rules or
Well, that's a good
regulations?
question. You're paying him right now $1,000 a month as the deputy. You're paying him detail pay for every hour he puts in for station duty and things like that.
That's correct.
And you're looking for a line item that doesn't exist. If that's
Okay.
what you're looking for. That's a good question. It's not set up. It's not set up that way.
Now, we are paying Mr. Dumont out of support of the district as our last meeting. Is that a similar situation,
He's
or?
being paid as for investigations. He's getting the rate of lieutenant on this department out of support of the district, and as a
Administrator.
detail rate.
Yeah,
That's the administrative part of that, the firefighting. And then he also gets procurement, which was something that was
Totally
something that was
separate.
arranged separately from that,
correct,
almost like an outside vendor type of agreement.
correct.
And that comes out of the support of the district as well. So if
Okay.
the support of the district is open, it's not necessarily, it's more for a vendor type of agreement. When we set out pay rates, those are for the positions that exist within the department.
Okay,
We didn't have a paid procurement officer. That's something the Prudential committee came up with. So I would assume you could probably do something similar to that and pay it out of support of the district. But you're getting into different areas. You're paying one person on 3 different pay rates.
right.
So it's a good question.
Well, the way it was done in the past was he received his captain's pay for duties over and above.
Detail pay.
No, he's got his detail pay for taking care of being here and manning the station. In the past, he was also receiving captain's pay. If he
For
went to a
fires,
fire
correct.
and he was not,
And that was determined by the Prudential committee. He shouldn't. So
Right.
that stopped.
that's correct. Mr. Johnson, any thoughts on this?
Oh,
I
my
know we
thoughts would
discussed
be
it, but it's
that
been,
the terms of my original agreement did compensate me, both as a deputy and for fire calls, in addition to detail pay for 14 months. And then when my contract was entertained, last September, I believe it was, that's when they decided to void the pay for fire calls. But for the first 14 months that I was deputy, basically I got paid for both on an hourly basis for fire calls made, as I have always had in the past, at captain's rate. So it would seem that it would be consistent with the terms of, with the way I was previously compensated. I don't see where there would be a difference.
so
We're
prior,
talking specifically responses to fire calls here, that's
priorly, you
outside
were,
of my duty hours, obviously.
right. So you would have duty hours at the regular rate.
Correct.
You would then have additional hours as your duties for the acting chief, being the acting chief right now.
That, which is primarily duty, for the most part. I mean, there's an overlap there. Duty time that I put in effectively is in conjunction with some of the duties I perform as acting chief at this point in time.
Okay.
All what we're discussing here essentially is exclusively pay for response to fire calls outside of my duty hours, which again is how I was compensated for the first 14 months of my agreement with the district.
Okay. So, Mr. Foster, the first, in the past, the Prudential committee had paid him. Then they changed that. If this board now wanted to change it back, is that within our right? So that during his normal hours of duty, he's getting paid duty pay, but he's acting as the chief. But to help compensate him for that extra work and responsibility, if this board says, yeah, that sounds fair, if he gets called out at 1 a.m. and he responds to a fire, that's outside, would we be able to compensate him at his captain's rate?
He's not a captain.
I'm sorry. What was his?
So-
what
so
was
do
your
you wanna
prior
call
rate at?
He was a captain.
Okay.
He's
And
Well,
that's
I was
what-
deputy chief prior to, and I was compensated at the captain's rate.
Okay. So would we be able to compensate him at the captain's
Do you
rate?
have, is there a contract that exists right now?
I do not, I never had a
There's no
contract.
contract.
If you had a contract, that would make things a lot simpler.
The contract is awarded by the chief. There is no acting chief right now, so there is no contract.
You know?
He's a chief.
Pay history.
Well, no, he can't be.
If he can show pay history.
No, I know it happened. I know.
The
I know
records,
exactly
the
what it's
records
for
show
the
us.
That's not an issue. So if you're the Prudential committee, so if that's what you want to do and you all agree to it, it's what we did.
But it's
originally.
within, right, so it's within all legal and financial.
That's your turn.
We're not breaking any rules of the treasurer that you're
Not my
aware of.
rules.
Okay. We did it for a period of 14 months. So at this time,
I'd like to make a motion that we start doing it again on the same terms we did for the 14 months.
okay, so that would be, Mr. Judson would be paid his duty rate at the duty rate. He would be paid, and that's when he would perform the day-to-day operations, and he would be paid at the captain's rate outside normal business hours
Correct.
for any responses at that time.
That's fine.
Do you feel that that's reasonable and acceptable? Okay, so I have a first, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next, I would like to, I see Mr. Savastano is here. I would like to jump ahead. That way we don't have to pay him to stay through the whole meeting.
And I get to go and eat.
That's right. So we're going to jump down to the reason why he's here today, and that would be basically the three items: structure of the department, special legislation, and special meeting. They're kind of all intertwined. I've asked him to give us a recommendation of what direction and where we should go from here. So you have the floor.
There it is, from here.
Wherever you're comfortable.
Well, some of it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. I know last time we talked about, there were some questions as to whether there can be a revocation of strong chief statute, and there were some discussions as to whether people thought that was beneficial or not. And I can tell you, based on some comments from the audience, I made some calls and I spoke to the city council, a city attorney for Fall River, and he didn't know that they had a strong big chief. So I also looked at I was told that there was some towns north of Boston that had weak chiefs, but if it's a municipal fire station, that's different than a district, so you can distinguish those. So the question becomes, can we adopt a weak chief statute? Our statute on that is unclear at best. It doesn't specifically mention districts. The problem with this is there are some laws that are passed that specifically mention districts, others leave it out, whether that was intentional or not. We have to assume the legislation knew what they were doing unless there's some case law to the contrary. And there's really no cases on this. So there's no statute that specifically says a district can adopt the weak chief. At the same time, although a municipality cannot revoke the strong chief statute, the statute that references that doesn't talk about districts. So on the face, it appears we can revoke the strong chief statute. It's a little unclear to me which direction the board's looking to go to, but the sense I got from you guys talking is you're looking for some kind of hybrid. The only other way to limit the length of terms of a strong chief would be through funding, and you could enter a contract for a period of time and just fund them $1 thereafter. It doesn't mean he's going to leave them. He could decide he's going to work forever for $1. So the only other way to do it, to get some kind of hybrid, would be to request the legislature for a special act. And municipalities do that all the time. They want a structure different than that's allowed by law, and they just go to the legislature and say, okay, can you amend, we want a special act that gives us somewhat of a hybrid. And if it's pushed by the district and you speak with your town, who's Chris Markey, I can't imagine there's any reason why he would help push it through the legislature. Really, nobody else up there has major concerns for the most part, I would think, about how to structure your department. You're not doing anything that's crazy. I'm not sure exactly what structure you're looking for, but I think you guys collectively need to decide that issue first, and then if you do, and it's something different than a complete strong chief, or going back to the old way of doing it, the chief engineer and all of it, then the board of engineers, then it sounded to me like you were looking for some kind of hybrid. And if that's the case, I think special legislation is probably the safest and best way to go.
Okay.
That would have to be passed. You'd have a meeting, and you would ask whether you want to call a special meeting or wait until next April. That's a decision for the Prudential Committee as well.
I know, speaking for myself, what I'd like to see happen, based on a lot of the conversations and a lot of research that we've been doing, I think what I'd like to see would be the strong chief being limited term. That's definitely the least litigious way of removing somebody. If we hire somebody off the street and we don't get along with them as a board, or he's just not a good fit for this department, yes, we could change and only fund him $1 salary, but that would open us up to a lot of legal issues. At some point, I would imagine he'd hire a lawyer and it would be dragged through court and cost the district a lot of money. Is that correct?
Yeah, and you're looking to avoid that, obviously.
I'm looking to avoid that,
The other
correct?
thing you can do is you can take some of the aspects from the weak chief statute and the strong chief, depending on what you really create any kind of hybrid you want. If you're going to go for some special legislation,
Correct.
obviously I can't guarantee what the legislature is going to do, but if you're a state government, you can do it, and it passes here, then I can't imagine why they wouldn't
So the general rumor going around that it has to be 3 years before we rescind the Strong Chief Act.
No,
No such legal back into that.
doesn't
Rumor
reference
at all.
districts. And,
Okay, so if we wanted to have a meeting tomorrow to change to any other form other than Strong Chief, we have the right to do that.
except I don't think you give everybody proper notice tomorrow.
But if we start
I know
the,
what you're talking
right, if we start the proceedings tomorrow for proper notice, we could have it 30 days, is that correct? Okay.
Do you still have to have special legislation to do that now?
Not to revoke it, but that would bring you back to the chief engineer and the.
It would be a multi-step process. My next question would be, if we have that special meeting as soon as possible, could we present both,
Absolutely.
go back to engineer for a period only up to the time at which
Yeah,
special
once the
legislation
special act
is?
passes, then it would supersede it anyway. But yeah.
So those would be two separate, really two
Yeah,
separate
we-
questions,
yeah,
correct?
We can frame the warrant articles for you, yeah.
That would be framed, so that one, so in theory, we could say, question 1 passes, we go back to chief engineer, and then question 2, special legislation for a 5-year term,
To change the
could be
existing-
denied.
yeah, right.
It could be denied, and we would end up having, this district would
Or it
have
could
chief
go the other
engineer.
way, they could go down the first and still vote the second, so.
In which
You can
case we
status
would
quo
stay,
until
Okay.
unless the special legislation passed.
okay.
And you may just want to consult with Chris anyway, just to see what he thinks the chances are of getting it through the legislature, if it's something you guys, pass.
Okay. My personal opinion would be to change to the chief engineer, so there's a little bit stability here in the district. At the same special meeting, ask for the voters to approve going to the special legislation to create our own hybrid chief that would have a 5-year term, and we could put everything together exactly the way we want to. Would we have to have that complete presentation complete before we ask the voters for
Yeah,
it?
I think you really need to structure.
We would have to see how it would be structured.
I mean, I can give you kind of an outline of what the different statutes provide, and you can.
Right, and we can
go
pick
through
and
a
choose.
checklist and pick and choose how
Okay.
you want to structure.
Um,
You may want to give yourself a little more room to be able to terminate, explain the cause differently, or, create a different standard for termination other than the strong chief, because it's pretty difficult, as you know.
Right, and that's what I'd be hoping for, just a way to eliminate any open
I can
liability
give
or
you some
lawsuits.
options, I don't want to be setting policy here, I can give you some options, and then you guys decide.
Okay. So, do you have any input?
The only way I'm gonna say, it's kind of like we're gonna go back to a chief of, Board of Engineers to move
Short
forward
term.
again.
Yeah,
Well, I'm not sure I really find the need to go back to chief.
okay, that's why we're aboard.
Right now, things are running smoothly.
Okay,
We have 2 people in place that are dealing with everything that comes forward. It seems like we might be confusing the voters, because we're going to ask them to come here twice. Hey, put us back to where we were, and then we're going to ask you again to come back in here for another election.
I was asking to do both on the same ballot, so one question would put us back, because we're looking at a time frame of about a year and a half, correct?
Yeah, well, it depends how quickly you push it through. We also need to look at when the legislative session ends, because if there are 2-year periods and 2 or 3, I can't recall, but what's happened in the past is a town meeting will ask in October to pass special legislation. In December, if that legislative session ends in December, they can't vote on it in January. They have to go to the next town meeting and start the process all over again. I've seen that mistake happen.
Okay,
So we need to find out, first of all, you wouldn't want to do a vote in November or December if this legislative session ends this year. I don't know.
Okay.
Quick call could give us that.
Probably a good idea to check or remind you when the legislative ends, right?
Yeah, well, anybody can just make a quick call. I could, talk to Chris or one of the staff members or the chamber if they may be able to find out.
okay, so my question then would be to Mr. Dumont and Mr. Judson is, if this takes a year and a half, are you both comfortable with the way things are going? To leave the department, I just, my concern would be the department's in limbo. But if you feel comfortable, the two of you feel comfortable that this could stay stable and go forward, I mean, we're not having any problems. I'm meeting with you once a month at least. Everything seems to be pretty stable.
It seems to be pretty stable right now. We've been keeping up with, all the inspections and everything else, and John's been doing a good job of that. So,
Okay.
I mean, to me, going back to chief engineer would be
For a short term.
even
Yeah.
a day. To
Okay.
me, would be out.
Okay.
That's my feeling. We took a long time to get it away from that, and now we want to go back. We're going to look like the laughing stock of Bristol County. I mean, we already are, and it's going to get worse. We start doing this. We bring somebody in, take somebody out, put somebody in, take somebody out. That's part of the problem.
Okay.
Everybody comes in and they have their own idea of what should be done. They get it changed, and then somebody else doesn't like that, so now they want to get it changed back, or they want to get it changed another way.
Okay.
It gets ridiculous, and everybody's saying, "What are you guys doing down there?" They're just really, they're I'm saying, "Well, I'd be embarrassed to belong to that department," and I've heard that from the general public and from fire chiefs and firefighters. I mean, I've been hearing that for the last 2 months, and it's getting to the point where I'm saying, maybe I better back out of this thing, and I don't want to, because I want this department to go.
Right.
I want this to be the top. I want us to be the number one department. That's what I want. I've always wanted that, and if we keep changing back and forth, we'll never get there.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
Okay. So I guess at this point, I would make a motion that, or I'd like a motion that we allow Attorney Savastano to prepare some suggestions for us as far as how we would want to make that hybrid request, how we would want to leave things status quo. If that's the best thing that's going, then I'm going to listen to that, and that we would ask that you give us your recommendations for that. And I would like to get this going as soon as possible. Obviously, we're probably looking at after the first of the year before we would have it. So then we would have to decide as a board, well, if it's going to be January 30th that we're going to have this meeting, should we just wait until May? The annual meeting. But I'd really like to, I guess a lot of that will have to do with the session of the legislative body. So if you can find that out for us, give us some suggestions. Does anyone have any special requests that the particular, I mean, I keep saying 5 years because people have told me that will give a person enough time to get in here, stabilize the department, make some changes without having to worry about if they're going to get renewed or anything like that. So 5-year term.
Well, I was thinking, see if we could cut costs. I mean, it's great Mr. Savastano wants to work for us, but why don't we see if we can do some of the work ahead of time for him to save money? Why don't we try to get a list of things we want incorporated into the agreement first and present it to him?
We can, I mean, I've got my big thing is the 5-year term. After that, I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Dumont or Judson to give me more recommendations, because one of the reasons I want to keep a strong chief is I'm not trying to run this department, and I don't want to. I don't want to pretend that I know how to run a fire department and what's best for the fire department. So I would need to ask for their opinion. So why don't we ask?
One of the things I just from an experience I had in another municipality where I represent the police union, I'll be quiet as to which municipality mentality, but for the police department, the chief did some amazing things. I mean, off duty, he led police on a high-speed chase involving 2 towns. He was the chase heat. He would make completely inappropriate comments about other police officers, young children, and they still had to go through a period of time where they had to pay to get rid of the guy because of the strong chief statute. So you may want to give yourselves, if you're trying to avoid lawsuits and execution of cause, give yourselves a little more strength in terminating somebody for cause, maybe define cause differently, or give them, again, that's your decision. You can have a length of term, any term you want, but to avoid litigation, put in some kind of stronger provision that allows you to do that.
And that's beyond my realm of.
Oh, I understand, but this is the type of thing where I think we want to get the town more, this district more involved with our solution. I mean, we've heard loud and clear that they didn't want a strong chief or contract for life. What else do they want? As we talk here tonight, they're listening. They may give us more
Okay.
input.
Yeah, I think that's fine if you guys give me, whatever, and I can say that won't work because this would, we can frame this that way or whatever. Again, I don't want to be in a position of setting policy.
No, we need your input,
Yeah,
but
you tell me the structure that you're looking at, and I'll try to, right, that's fine.
So would you like to gather that information from the people of the town? Would you like to have them mail it to the district,
I believe they're going to be notifying us as they hear us tonight.
10 Bridge Street, South Dartmouth?
I think they'll tap us on the shoulder and give us input also.
That's fine. That's
So I guess
absolutely.
next meeting, we'll try to have a small list to begin with, and there'll be our steps going forward.
Okay. I think that's all that we have right now for you. Nothing else. No
Can I
other
say one other
correspondence.
thing, completely unrelated? I came to the open house, these guys did a super job, and the girls here, we had a blast, we came with some friends, little kids, and you guys all did a great job. So I want to thank you for that.
Very good. Thank you.
I just wondered if we could, if we write a new description of the job, and the town approves it through the regular meeting, could they approve it subject to the state giving us approval?
It would have to be.
So
It would have to be, because if they don't approve it and it gets denied, it's going to be a yes or no. Yes, it's approved. No, it's not. If it's no, then then we are. Then the voters have spoken. We hire a strong chief, and we take it from there.
Okay,
Follow
that way. That's fine.
Right. We just will put off hiring
Right.
for that position until we have that meeting. So whether it's May or we decide to have it in February to speed up the process, we can worry about that later.
Okay.
So, all right, we'll go back to order. Vendor warrants is the next. This is vendor warrant V-5, fiscal year 2012, in the amount of $49,940.56. No, I don't. I can look that up. I saw that myself.
I think that's the one that I said I wasn't going to send before. That's what I want to check.
It's going to be pretty far down.
It's not usually approved by our board.
These guys were told that we're going to pay, that's approved, we're going to approve it first.
You never got approval from our board to do that. And that's, matter of fact, you were out that day, that meeting, and I denied signing it because of that. But I said, if these guys want to use
$6,000.
Okay. So there's a question here from Mr. Sylvia on a bill from October 19th, 2011, Partridge, Snow, and Hahn. Would you like to speak on that?
I did remember the chief coming in front of the board asking for permission. He was notified that he was supposed to see the board before getting any legal advice, and this is something he did on his own free will, and
And what date was that?
It was back in October.
Period ended September 30th, so on September 14th and September 15th. Conference with Mr. Salasano and conference with Mr. Salasano again. Okay. Regarding public records request.
I don't know what it was for, so
I do know what that was for. I do know what that was for, and I've been
I'm
waiting
not saying it was
from-
wrong or right, I just didn't know what it was
No,
for, so I didn't want to sign off.
I do know what it was for. I was not here. That was for a request, and that's probably why I have not received anything from him. And he and Mr. Salasano disagree on this, but he was our attorney of record for a matter which was resolved. Here's my copy of it. I was not made aware of the outcome from Mr. Murray, and I have not heard from him, but he was, and it was signed off that he received on 9/12.
Yeah, that's back from October.
No, this was,
September?
this 9/12/11, and the conversation happened 2 days later, and I know Mr. Salasano had his input with Mr. Murray, and I've been waiting for that information to pass on to the requester. However, it has not come yet. So, I was aware that this came, and I'm waiting to hear on it. So I think we have to pay the bill before he's going to release the records, is what it comes down to at this point.
Okay.
So,
So, know what it was.
yeah, not a problem. I'm glad you asked. So, at this time, do I have a motion to
Motion to accept.
second?
Third.
All in favor? This is the one we got to sign over here.
I think, Mr. Sylvia, we won't see those bills ever again due to the,
Well, I just wanted to make sure, I'm not gonna sign away something that I don't even know what it was for.
And once you send that bill out, I will make a follow-up to find out where we stand, because I know that person would like that information. Or it will have to elevate at that point. I believe Mr. Murray's comment is, so I can't speak for what he's saying, but I was informed that he doesn't believe we have to release the information. There was a confidentiality signed by the board, but other lawyers are telling me that there's no such thing as confidentiality with public money, public records and public funds. So
I would say, I'd
at some point, this board will have to decide which lawyer they plan on.
it's a public record, correct?
It is.
Then I suggest we just release it, period.
Well, we don't have
the record.
We don't have the records. That was part of the attorneys have it.
So we have
So-
to pay to get the record. Possible.
We have to look into that.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm sure we have some correspondences, but it was prior board, prior chairman. We could get some information from them. However, we don't have it here, and after signing that confidentiality disclosure, if it's null and void, if it's illegal or not proper to sign one, and we weren't informed that it was improper to sign one, then it's null and void, and the records will be released. If it's okay for us to sign one, and it's, in effect, we cannot release the records. So, okay. Minutes of the prior meeting. I gave each of you a copy. I did see that Ms. Torres did email them to both of you, so I'm assuming you both got them. Any
I'll make a motion to accept these
Second.
minutes.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, next on the agenda, staff ambulance. Hi, how are you?
I apologize for last month.
No?
On my way to get a call, and my coverage fell through, so I apologize for not being able
Okay. Both of you remember last month, we were presented with the idea of
to. You want me to look at it?
renting out some space to staff during the temporary rebuilding of District 2's addition. I'm going to let the two of you speak on it because you're better versed in it. So.
Yeah, I mean, we addressed it last month. We were pretty much aware of this request coming since about midsummer. I think there was a little bit of indecision on their part as to whether or not you were going to be housed temporarily in a trailer or what have you, but given the time of the year, that clearly didn't be feasible. So we were approached basically with a request to house Rescue 2, which is currently runs out of District 2 station, probably for a period of approximately 4 months, sometime from right around Christmas, New Year's, up through into April, let's put it that way.
Yeah, correct. They gave us right around January 1st.
Their quarters would be located in our basement area, adjacent to where the gym equipment is and so forth like that. That area right now is not utilized by us on any type of regular basis, so it wouldn't result in any disruption or displacement of any of our personnel. It is furnished to an extent with chairs and a couple of sofas. Probably have to bring in your own bunks and so forth like that.
Yeah.
And we have already made provisions at this point for the installation of a private phone line down there specifically for their use. Again, that provision was made about a month and a half ago. When it became apparent, we had our provider down here and basically installed a line down there just in preparation for this. So effectively right now, it's the pleasure of the board to authorize them to utilize the building. The only other issue we would have, I spoke with Chief Aruda up in District 3, who in the past has housed our fire alarm truck on a temporary basis. He has purchased a couple auxiliary pieces of equipment. He does not have room in Station 3 at this time. So we would have to find an alternate location to house that over the winter months. We wouldn't be able to leave that outside. Probably have to look to some type of private garaging of that. It's not a major concern because at this point in time, we probably only have about 2 or 3 miles of hard wire left on the municipal system. Use that primarily just on a spot basis. And it wouldn't really compromise the functioning of the fire alarm system. So at this point, I really don't see any outstanding issues that would cause us not to allow them to use the building over the 4-month period.
How will it affect the men who use downstairs? firefighters,
Shouldn't
our
really, it's
firefighters.
probably going to affect them more so than anything. Fact is that we don't have a petition or anything between the gymnasium or the gym equipment area and their quarters, so they might want to consider installing a temporary petition or maybe an accordion style petitions or something along those lines.
Even if not, I mean,
Just to
only a
afford
few
them some
months.
privacy. The only concern would be if our guys were down there, obviously they're not down there during the middle of the night, working out. But if they were in there, we have a couple individuals that regularly come in about 9 in the morning to use the equipment. So if you guys were out during the night and you're trying to get some sleep down there, then there could be a minor disruption. But two areas are pretty much separated, so it really won't be an issue in that regard.
Okay. That would be my first concern, as long as the guys get to use downstairs and it's not off limits to them. You were going to follow up, you had an idea on storage for the
I'm still working on that.
you're still working on that, okay. Okay.
I think we should accommodate them, since it's not going to inconvenience anyone.
Any thoughts on storage of the truck?
That's
You-
the
I
only
know
thing.
you-
As long as, if we have to pay to put our equipment somewhere, I mean, who's gonna pay for that? Is it
Yeah, I mean,
us,
obviously,
or
if you're gonna have to pay to have that put somewhere, then
Yeah.
obviously that would be on us
Yeah, that's
to
all.
do that. I can ask the chief of District 2 if we can put that in our spot that we're vacating now, and just move that truck up. They might be able to put that there, because that's gonna be an empty spot by the time we're here. Either way.
I think my concern with that is I think they probably plan on putting their forestry truck in there because they have to clean the tank if it's outside during the winter.
I think they have it like kitty corner in the back right now.
Have they been able to fit it in there?
Yeah.
Okay. I know there was a concern with regard to a couple of pieces of equipment that they effectively had to winterize to leave outside. So my thoughts would be that more than likely they're gonna try and utilize that empty space to accommodate a couple of their own vehicles, but if possible, it would be nice, but, I think they probably got some plans for that.
And I mean, I can go back, we have different stations, different places. I can see if our company can find some place to put that also.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want it necessarily out of town. but I
Yeah,
mean,
well,
it
we have a
doesn't
couple
have-
bases, right, like, I think a big spot in Florence Corner Road, we have a place.
Yeah,
to bed.
that would be workable, by all means. If we could put it up in there, I mean, we'd have access to it 24
Okay,
hours.
I mean, I'll have to go back to the boss, but yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be
we'll try
fine.
to work it out. try
If we
to
can
figure
work
it
that out, that would be ideal, actually, I mean, honestly.
Okay.
Okay.
And the amount of the rent is what they're paying at District 2 now? What's that amount?
That's, District 2 is $750 a month.
$750 a month, okay. So do I have a motion to approve this for the amount of $750 a month plus any expenses for storage of trucks if there should be? So if we have to go to Crossroads Storage and their rate is $150 a month to store a vehicle inside, then the rent for you would be the $900 a month.
That's fine.
If you provide us a place on Florence Corner Road at no expense, then the rent would be $750 a month. Plus you pay any extra expenses, you know, phone line's yours. If you bring in any petitions or
Yeah, and
Pots or anything like
information
that.
we want to know.
I'll make that motion.
okay, do I have a
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. You can coordinate with Ms. Judson and we'll take it from there, but you guys have a place when needed.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I had a question.
Yes.
We've now gone from a municipal building into renting to a private company. Is there anything with the insurance?
I have been in contact with the insurance company. I'll ask him that question. I have to give him some paperwork, but that's a good question. And I
Would
can,
it be the same issue with the other station?
I would think
It
so,
would be,
but I
right.
don't know if they have either.
So you don't want to take on an umbrella to cover it.
Something. Let's say they come up, they go down the stairs and fall down the stairs and,
Whatever the coverage change would be added to the rent.
And that's why we said any expenses over and above, so I feel that we worded it properly. I didn't think about the insurance, but okay. Next thing, building report.
The, I think you paid the bill, right, John?
Yes.
That was approved by the building inspector, and the bill has been paid. He is coming down, he's been really busy. He's coming down to look at the other thing that we had talked about, and also to give us a price on painting the roof on the dormer, on the cupola.
Yes, the gold.
The gold on it. And I spoke with him last week or the week before, and he's going to come down. He's going to give me a call when it comes down, and we can take a look at what has to be done. That's pretty much
That's really it.
Pretty much it is on the building.
Okay. How about the fuel tanks, fuel storage tanks? I know there were issues with that about a year ago. They had to be cleaned out. Where do we stand?
No outstanding issues that I know of.
Nothing at this point. Everything's up and running fine.
Yes.
We put that new
They have been
cover.
cleaned out.
We had that new lock cover put on,
Yes.
and that's resolved all that issues. I'm just thinking with winter coming, make sure no water's getting in the tanks. Okay. Any questions on building?
I just have one question that was brought to my attention. It was Mr. Vaz asked me if he was continuing in snow removal of the building this year, because I know
Okay.
he gave us a contract last year. He wanted to know if he was continuing with it. I believe it's at the same rates. He didn't say anything about a rate change.
Okay. No problems with his performance. He did a great job last year, right?
No, every time.
Snow removal.
Good job.
Okay. Want to make a motion that we
Make a
continue?
motion to continue using them.
Okay.
I'll second that then.
And that would be at the same rate as last year's contract or
Right.
agreement?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? Yep.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
On the total amount that you paid him last year was how much, you know? Approximately?
$1,500 maybe.
Oh,
Yeah, it was so much.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. So that takes care of building. IT update. I asked Mr. Stachio to give us some report. He put in 5 hours last month, and he feels that the radio system still needs attention. He's got the new server up and running. District has updated the phone system to digital about a month ago. The phone system's been working without any problems. We don't have a security report every month. So that's basically it. He has asked for a new table. Were you able to procure a table for him to support that new printer?
I actually spoke with the clerk, spoke with someone, and basically they indicated, was it you? The cost of the table that he was looking for was approximately $80.
Correct.
And it was suggested that we just authorize him to move forward in that regard. Actually, I believe it was you, Kevin.
I know I spoke to you, right, but you were going to find out if there was one
I can do
elsewhere
that
for free.
if you'd like.
Prior to.
Okay, so he's asked for an $80 expenditure for a table to support the new printer that we authorized last month, I'm sorry.
The scanner.
Yeah, the
server.
Raptor,
Server,
the
yeah.
Raptor, the server's all set,
Right.
that's up and running, but the Raptor printer, the ID printer,
Okay, that's right.
my concern was where are we going to put it in that caged-in area. He feels that the table he's picked out that he would be able to go in there where that is right now, and that once he starts scanning some of those old burning permits, if we can cut down at least one of the file cabinets that are in there.
Does he have a good enough scanner to scan it? That was my question tonight.
I don't have,
I was gonna ask if the judge can talk to him about possibly buying a new scanner, if that's what's necessary to eliminate those file cabinets downstairs.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it has in terms of existing
Could we
scanning equipment down there.
I have a very good scanner that's no longer of use for me, so I think I could have that donated without a problem. I would have to speak to him about it. Very, very good. It's only about a year old. It does a great job. So if that's something that he'd want, then we would just have him, I would pass that on to him.
Before you start throwing records away, though,
Oh,
it's a
absolutely.
permanent document. I believe it's the Secretary of State's office has a record retention file, and you have to request permission to throw certain documents away. I don't know exactly what he's scanning and what he's doing down there, but you want to make sure that whatever documents, if they're permanent documents, I don't think a scanned copy is acceptable. I mean, you have to have the original document, so you just want to check into whatever you're throwing away before you do.
Absolutely. This is going to be a long-term project that we haven't even started yet. So do I have authorization to spend $80 for a table?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
We have a lot of tables out in the shed in the back. We had a whole bunch of them out there. We're going to go buy another table.
Well, he did say that he was going to provide me with the information on it to see what difference it would be, and I don't have that here today.
I think the reason for the table, Mr. Justin, is it because of the space requirements downstairs?
More than likely.
Yes. It's a very small confined area, if I'm correct.
So, I mean, he's found something he feels that would suit the needs that he has, and it's $80. So,
I was wondering, Mr. Chairman, if we've notified the other two departments about that machine they bought and whether they could use that machine.
we haven't notified anyone yet. We'll, let's get it here, let's get it up and running, and then we can put the word out once we know it's,
Okay.
and we're trained. And so, second on that table, and we can wait until next month when I have more information.
Sure, why not give them the table?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Duwan, drug and alcohol testing.
We have a meeting on the 17th at St. Louis.
Okay.
And we really want to have to sit down with you, your board, to determine exactly what you anticipate we do with these things. I think there's Deputy Judson spoke with somebody there, and I mean he can tell you what they said. But again, we have a meeting next Wednesday morning, Thursday morning.
Okay.
With the administrator of
Okay.
the program that we've been working with. I've spoken with her and basically mentioned to her that we were considering possibly revising or redoing certain provisions in terms of our testing policy.
Okay.
And she suggested that she had several programs available that she may want to make us aware of in terms of the direction that we want to proceed
Oh, okay.
at this point in time. What she indicated to me, in a sense, was the policy that we have been utilizing in the past is somewhat of a hybrid, if we want to use that word. It's not really consistent with a lot of policies that they currently have.
Okay.
And she suggested that we sit down and review what various other departments and organizations do
Okay.
to address these issues. So
Okay.
effectively, that's what we're going here for, is sort of a fact-finding meeting.
Okay.
Just to see what they have available, and then we'll need to discuss it with you people apparently and make a joint decision as to whether or not we want to amend our current policy or how we want to move forward in that regard. So we'll have that information available to us by the end of next week at this point. And,
Okay.
we're
So-
more than happy to distribute whatever we get to you people as well for your review.
Okay. So then in December, we can bring this matter up again. You can explain what we have and what is more consistent with a department of our size.
I'll see if I can get somebody here if we need to. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are in that regard. I mean, I'm not that familiar with it. Chief Alcadino was pretty much the primary administrator of that program as far as this department went. I don't have a lot of background in terms of how the program was developed, the testing policies and what have you. I'm sure Chief Dumont doesn't either.
No, I believe it was prior attorneys that drafted it for us, so.
Or if one of you people would be interested in going with us, you'd be more than welcome. Next Thursday morning, if one of you can make yourselves available to be there, it might not be a bad idea.
It might be better served if she came here and she was on television so the whole town could hear the direction and the options we have.
And just, okay. I don't know if she's available at 8 o'clock at night, but I'll certainly mention the fact that if we could have a representative come down, that's what we'd be looking towards, or would that be the pleasure of the board?
I think if you, the two of you meet with them, find out what our options are. Find out if it is an option for her to come next, the second Wednesday of next month.
Okay.
If necessary. I mean, if she says, look, here's a perfectly written document from someone else that fits your description, and you guys can use that. I don't know if that would be necessary.
Well, I mean, can we discuss it with you prior to next month's meeting?
You can discuss
So
it
that
with
you can make a decision as to whether or not you think it's
yes,
necessary to have a
you can
representative.
give all the information to all three of us. You can speak to all three of us individually,
Okay.
get our feelings individually, as long as there's not two of us in the room
Yeah,
at the same time while you're discussing it. Then it's not an open meeting.
Right, I'll suggest the possibility of her coming down at next week's meeting, and if jointly we think that it would be beneficial to have someone here, and she's
Right.
available, we'll bring her down, and if we think that we're comfortable making our own decision without that, then
Right. If she presents different options, you can then present them to us, and then the board can make the decision.
right.
So, okay, very good. Think we're done?
I have one,
Yes.
just one thing. Been lingering here. A couple of months ago, when the chief signed his separation agreement, at that time, he apparently requested that his name be taken off various documents, given the fact that he's not in authority anymore. And at the same time, it was also removed from our department website. I was quite concerned about that, and was asking if the board would consider at this point in time replacing his name back on the website in whatever capacity it was there previously. I'm not that familiar with it per se, but apparently it wasn't his intent to request his name to be removed from the website. It was, and he's respectfully asked if his name or whatever information to him that was removed be reinstated on that site. So I'd ask your consideration in that regard on his behalf.
Mr. Herron?
Can't figure what difference it would make. I mean,
I think it's because he has his mission statements on there, or something like that.
I don't feel comfortable doing anything on this matter without asking Mr. Stavsano. So,
But he asked me, and I told him that I would bring it to the attention of the board.
I don't, he's not covered under the agreement, which is public record. He's not covered by any insurances at this time other than health insurance and maybe dental, but he's got no indemnification at this time. How does my board feel about me running it by Mr. Savasano, who wrote the...
It'd be nice if we could have an example from Mr. Albertino as to where he might find the problem, where his name is being removed.
I can't speak to that.
Oh, I know. I wonder. I'm just looking at another legal bill, we have to ask an attorney to answer
Well,
the question.
it's gonna be a 2-minute conversation, I believe. He's gonna say yes, fine, or no, he shouldn't be associated. I mean, in what
Could we-
capacity would he be
Well-
listed?
How about if we, could we postpone that till, again, Mr. Savistown is here on another question, so he's not answering a lone question at a
Okay. Okay.
I just can't, I want to stop the legal fees.
All right, so we will take that under consideration.
Thank you.
Now, it's my understanding that he's asked this or discussed this matter with people outside the department. I have nothing written at this time, but this is a matter for the board, not to be discussed with any spouses or people of this department or their relatives. So if you can make that point, we will take it under consideration, but it shouldn't be discussed with anyone but you, this board. Not anyone else in the department, not the spouse of anyone else in this department, if that so happened. Anything? Yes.
There's just one thing. Last month, you gave me a request for batteries for the AED.
Yes.
And there was a price of $2,820.
Yes.
I went out and searched and got the same battery, the same manufacturer, the same number, everything else. Same quantity for $1,880. So it was $1,000 savings on
Wonderful.
470 batteries.
Bonus pay.
It makes a difference when you.
It does. Now, were we going to install the batteries both
No,
times?
I
Or?
think Lieutenant Cabral is installing the batteries.
Okay.
They just plug in. I mean,
So we're not worried about voiding the warranty, or there's no
that's,
warranty
that's
issue?
what you're supposed to do. And yeah, he's taking care of them now. So.
Okay.
But I just wanted to.
Very good. Do we need to sign anything?
No,
or
I think
it's all set?
you actually you already
Up to-
approved and you said
Up to that amount.
yeah.
Okay.
And again, I saved $1,000 on just that.
Thank you. Thank you very
That's what
much.
it's all about.
Okay. Anything else? Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.